I don't think they can hear you.
Good morning. Welcome, 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 welcome. We are so excited to have you all join us here at the Black Enterprise Entrepreneur Summit for the do's and don'ts of raising capital. Y'all excited?
Get it, get it, get it.
All right.
Get it, get it.
I see everybody's got their wrap snacks. Y'all didn't bring us no wrap snacks, but that's okay. We're not going to hold it against you. We're so excited to spend some time with you today. We understand how difficult it can be as a Black entrepreneur to raise the capital you need to grow and scale your business, regardless of the degree of capital readiness that your business has, right? And so we want to spend some time this morning talking with and thinking about how we overcome those barriers. And we have two dynamic people on the stage today who have a lot of advice, and more than advice, experience to share with you that'll help you get from where you are to where we need you to be and where you want to be. So would you join me in welcoming Zakia Blain, who is the founder and CEO of FBF Body.
Get it.
Hey, y'all.
I like it. Y'all the right crowd. We the right people in the right space. I also want you to welcome my new friend, Ty Cooper, who is the chief, that means the head, y'all, the Chief Community Development Officer at the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Give it up for Ty.
Thanks.
Now listen, I should have worn better shoes. I didn't know what I was competing with this morning, but I'm so excited to be here. I want to get the conversation started this morning by allowing these ladies to introduce themselves to you, because there are some little nuggets in their personal stories about how they got to where they are and how they became who they are that I think it will set a leveling ground for our conversation today. So, Zakia, I'd love to begin with you. Why don't you introduce yourself to the people?
Hey, y'all. Good morning. So my name is Zakia Blain. I am the CEO and founder of FBF Body. I am also a founding member of 1787 Capital. I will be celebrating 10 years in business.
Get it.
This year.
Get it. Get it.
I started my business with $75 back in 2012, and now we have a multi-million-dollar athleisure apparel business. I sell confidence. I change lives.
Come on with this. Come on with this.
I am also disabled. I have a brain disorder called Chiari malformation, which is a big part of my story and how I started my business. I actually started my business in an attempt to get off my medication from my brain disorder and looking at diet and exercise as a way to heal myself and inadvertently healing others. And so that's what I do.
I love that.
All right, all right. Ty, why don't you introduce yourself?
So Ty Cooper, as you said, the Chief Community Development Officer for the New Jersey Economic Development Authority. Super excited to be here. And I gotta say, I'm just excited to be on this panel with two dope people. With EDA, we are the largest economic engine in the state of New Jersey. We have pivoted and are really focusing on equitable and inclusive economic development. And that matters because that's what we're actually focusing on. A big part of what we did this year was give over $700 million to you could clap for that, to 70,000 small businesses. We're gonna talk a little bit about COVID recovery, but that's not something we previously did. But I think if you're in spaces like this, you have to shift the room and you have to change the dynamic of what's happening, especially for small businesses. So glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
All right, we're at the summit and we're gonna shift some things today, all right? And I want you to know that when I pull up in Jersey, I'm gonna use your name for cred. I'll be like, listen, Ty called me dope. And it's on tape, they recorded it.
Ty is the head. She said, I don't have no, I only got one ball.
Hey, Zakia, I'd love it if you could help us get started this morning by talking a little bit about, because you've built a business. Listen, you ain't athleisure unless you with Ty. Unless you with Zakia. And so I wonder if you talk a little bit about the barriers you faced, right? You talked about building your business with a very small initial, very small, $75, right? Capital investment. Talk a little bit, though, about the barriers you faced in accumulating the capital that you need to grow and scale your business.
So again, I started my business with $75 and a loan from one of my old boyfriends.
Thank God for the exit sometimes.
Shout out to the ex.
Listen, I'm very, to get to know me is to know that I'm going to keep it 100% real. I talk in layman's terms. I am a retired school teacher, so I talk for you to understand and for you to learn something from me. So yeah, one of my ex-boyfriends, he had a print machine. So he was like, I'll print the shirts for you. And I was like, okay, I made 4 samples. Well, initially, let me backtrack. I initially started with my intellectual property. I started a weight loss challenge before we started with the apparel. And that was me creating a system for people to be able to lose weight in a way that wasn't restrictive. So we started with the weight loss challenge. I put a little post on Instagram and I said, hey, if you want to join this challenge, I'll pay you to lose whoever loses the most amount of weight. So that's how FBF initially started. Wow. FBF stands for fuck being fat.
Come on.
Okay? So that's how FBF initially started. And so as we grew, this was the age of Instagram just becoming 10 years ago. Instagram just had started. So I basically built my business on Instagram. And people would share their results. And then my members wanted something to wear to the gym. So we started with the Fuck Being Fat t-shirt. And it became a hit. My cousin was doing Selena Johnson's hair at the time. And Selena was on a weight loss journey. She saw my cousin wearing my sweatshirt and she wanted one. And so that was literally how FBF started to become popular, because at the time Selena was on R&B Divas. And so she would wear the Fuck Being Fat shirts in all her confessionals and things like that. And so then I would go out to LA and Nicole Bitchie, this was when Nicole was doing Nicole Bitchie at the time, and the blogs would post. And so I was literally flipping money. I'm from the hood. You know what I'm saying? I took that $75 and I flipped it.
Come on.
And I was still teaching at the time, and so I would use my teacher salary, because we weren't making a lot of money, but when people would win the challenge, I would use my paycheck from teaching to pay out the winnings. Wow. And as FBF grew, it was just, it was something that worked, and people wanted to be a part of a community. And I was also the face of fat girls working out. A lot of people look at plus size women as if we don't work out, we're unhealthy, and so people were drawn to me. That community of women who wanted to be seen was drawn to what I was giving them. So I always say, I don't sell leggings, I don't sell shapewear, I sell confidence. Come on. And so people wanted to be a part of that. People want to be seen. And so from a community of women who are constantly overlooked, they don't, they tell us to lose weight, but they want us to go in oversized clothes. They don't want us to be cute. It was an uproar when Nike put plus size models, plus size mannequins in their stores. And so literally I was just flipping money. And my first capital loan that I actually got was from PayPal Capital. And I was basically using my business to get money. So I think my first PayPal Capital loan was like $5,000. And if you know anything about PayPal Capital, they base it on your last 90 days of sales. So I got $5,000, I flipped it. And then the next time around, they were like, oh, you can get 10. And I flipped that. And they kept giving me more money over the years. And for me, it was something perfect, because with PayPal Capital, they take a percentage of your sales daily. You don't have to pay like a lump sum loan amount when you're paying it back. So if you sell $100 that day, they're gonna take 17% of that $100 to go towards your loan. So it wasn't something like, oh, I gotta pay back $2,000 a month. And my credit was also shot at the time, because another part of the story is I'm disabled. I was a supervisor at HSBC for 11 years, simultaneously teaching in the school district of Philadelphia at the same time. I was diagnosed with my brain disorder, and once that happened, I got laid off and I was on disability. So it was like the perfect storm of, I can't cuss, sorry.
You been cussing.
Oh, have I? Sorry, y'all.
Fuck Being Fat is the name of the brand. So, it's okay. It's an adult room. It's curated.
But anyway, my credit was shot. I couldn't get any loans. And so PayPal was really the way that I was able to build the capital in my business. And over the years.
Zakia, I want to ask you something, because I think it'll resonate with the room. Why didn't you just ask your family for the money you needed to grow your business?
Well,
was that not an option for you?
It wasn't.
I like how how you being facetious with it though a little bit.
You know, it wasn't, and I know some of you might be in here. I am the money person in my family. So I am the person when somebody can't pay their rent,
Yes, ma'am.
they call Zakia. When somebody needs, you know, money for daycare, Pampers, food, they call Zakia. So for me, I've always been the money person. Again, I've always had money. I was a teacher and a finance manager. So I was 25 making $100,000 a year before I started my business.
Right.
So for me, I was the go-to person in my family for the money. So I can't ask them for anything.
Can you hit on that
So,
point though?
I wanna go ahead. No,
No, I was
jump
gonna say
in.
that's such an important point. I know we're gonna delve further into the conversation, but when we think about like interventions or how to help Black and brown businesses scale, one of the things they always talk about first when you're doing this fundraising, go to your friends and family. If you're watching any of these shows, you know, I was watching, what is it, like Super Pumped or whatever on Uber, and the other one on The Dropout. But this girl was able to literally get $1 million from friends and family. And I'm looking around at my friends and family like, where the money at though? But it's such an important concept because I think for Black and brown businesses, we have to look at things and do things differently.
Yes.
And so I think that's part of like shifting the narrative, and access to capital has to come differently from us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to throw another question in then, because this is good. Why didn't you were a high wage earner, right? Why didn't you just walk into your bank and ask them for the money you needed to grow and scale your business? Let's talk about it.
This is the other aspect of managing your money, people. Okay? I was a high wage earner, but I was not good at managing my money. So I had money, but when I lost my job, I got laid off, and they told me I was getting laid off, but I was 25. No, I got laid off at 32. So I was like, you know, this is my disposable income. They told me I was getting laid off. I didn't care. I kept shopping. I kept doing all the things, even though I had a 6-month time window and a severance package. And I was like, child, this is my play money. And so I also didn't know I was going to get diagnosed with a brain disorder that same year. So life happened to me. Like I said, it was the perfect storm of life happening and me not being prepared. So my credit was shot. I was pre-foreclosure on my home, so I couldn't go to my bank. When I did, and this is even after building my business for 5 years, they still wouldn't give me a loan. I couldn't even get a credit card. My credit went from like 700 to like 5 something. It was like a snowball. My car was repossessed. My house was in pre-foreclosure. It was when I tell you it was a snowball effect of all of the worst things happening to me at the same time. But guess what? It'll never happen again.
Hey. Hey. Listen, Zakia, I want to put a pin right there. We're going to come back to that because I think I want to build the conversation. I want to bring Ty in to talk a little bit about, Zakia's explaining,
That's right.
as a Black business owner, all of the barriers that she's facing to being able to grow this brand that's on TV, that there are notable people using, wearing. PayPal advanced her a little bit of money because the sales were there, right? So that means this is a profitable business, but she's still facing these barriers. She has no friends and family capital. She can't walk into her bank, right, and get the loan that she needs. You sit in a unique position because you sit in a public space, right, that ideally is dedicated to building an inclusive economy, right? So talk a little bit about what solutions or what some of the relief looks like for the Black business owner, the Black entrepreneur who's building their business and facing those barriers that Zakia is facing. Facing. You ain't facing them no more and will not face them again, right?
Exactly.
But in all honesty, how many people in this room could resonate with that story though? Like if you think, like literally, if you raise your hand, how many people resonate with that story? Because that's what happens to Black and brown businesses all of the time. I'm fortunate to sit in the seat that I do where we have a governor, Governor Murphy, who is so focused, intentionally focused on inclusive and equitable economic development. And I say that because leadership really does start from the top, and our governor made sure that when we're putting out our Stronger, Fairer plan, that we're focusing on creating the most inclusive and diverse innovation ecosystem in the nation. But it's not just words, because I get sick of words, and I've been in government for a long time, so I really want to see some actions with words. And so what we started doing at EDA specifically was like, all right, during this time period when I got there, we're looking at all these Black businesses that couldn't access programs, couldn't access money. So what's the issue? And so one of the things you can use as a lever in state government is a request for information. So we literally put a request for information and started interviewing every Black founder and funder that we could find, because there's clearly a barrier to getting access to capital. What is it? So we put this RFI out, got a ton of responses, and what it led to is a recognition that you have to address the issue, recognize the issue, and then create a plan for the issue. And what came from that was that New Jersey became the first state in the nation after this to put money in the actual budget for exclusively Black and brown startups. No other state has done that. So right now the amount is at $10 million, which is it's a smaller amount, but we're looking to leverage that with more private dollars. But it's the fact that we actually took the initiative to do something and actually change it, right? Because that doesn't exist. So now we have a Black and Latinx seed fund in New Jersey. We're also looking to leverage its SSBCI funding, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. New Jersey is going to get $225 million. Out of that, we're also looking at money to go directly into that Black and Latinx seed fund. The other thing we did was create, through our Economic Recovery Act, $100 million to go towards Main Street businesses. And one of the things we did with that was ensure that we're looking at collateral. We don't want you guys to have to put up your houses to start your business. That's insane. That doesn't make sense to me. We lowered the credit threshold from 700 to 600. So the programs that we have right now are looking at the disparities that are generational, that were systemic, that were created intentionally, and really pivoting on its head. And that's what you have to do, right? So if you're in these positions and you're in a state, that's the work that you have to do. So those are a few of the things we did. But also with all of our angel programs that we have, there's over 14 programs now at EDA that require a diversity bonus. That means that if you have Black or brown people that you're employing, Black or brown businesses that you're investing in, that company, if you're an angel or if we're coming in as a limited partner, we give you additional bonuses for supporting Black and brown businesses. We are intentional about our work because nobody else is doing it. And on the private side, they could and should be doing more. They promised hundreds of millions of dollars during COVID, but where's the money at? Like, I'm serious about these things because we have to be intentional about our words and our actions. So in New Jersey, we are putting our money legitimately where our mouth is. So those are a few of the interventions we've done in New Jersey. We're also doing an RFI for Black and brown developers because, again, the whole issue is there is a lack of access to capital. The capital exists, but how do you get it in our hands? And that's what we're doing right now.
This is amazing because the first step.
Y'all can clap for that. It's cool.
Yeah, y'all can clap for that. Y'all can clap for that because it's actually putting your money where your mouth is, right?
Yeah.
The first step in a turnaround or being able to like utilize some of these services, right, that are out there is exposure.
That's right.
Right.
You cannot select or choose what you
Don't
not
know.
know exists, right? And so, Zakia, I'd love to come back to you to talk a little bit about how you built your network, right? Because that's the part of getting to the money, is building your network, right? So talk a little bit about, this is one of the do's, right? Build your network. And Zakia's gonna give us some real world practical advice on like how you did it.
So I'm very intentional about making connections with people. When I first started my business, I would literally go, I've been here by myself, you know. I went to, my last BE Summit was in Charlotte in 2018. I went to Women in Power Summit. I would go to the BET Awards, if it was Grammy weekend. Anything that was big and I knew that there were gonna be people there, celebrities who I wanted to wear my clothes, I would go and I would go alone. And people be like, you just gonna go by yourself? Yes. I'm gonna take my cards, I'm gonna wear my FBF shirts, and I'm gonna stand in every room. And in Philly, there's a term, people like to say you're Joe. Call me Joeisha. I'm Joe, because I'm talking to everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna make sure when I walk into a room, if there's somebody in the room that I want to meet, you know, like right now you're here, there should be people that you know are speaking that you want to get next to, that you want to speak to, and so that you can make a connection. My last time here at BE, I was speaking to Lydia, who at the time was working for Black Enterprise, and then I ended up being featured in Black Enterprise just from that connection. We had lunch at a food truck. You know, just sitting down, talking to people, telling people your story is about making intentional connections. When I became a millionaire, I was very intentional.
Say that one more, I'm sorry, pause and say that one more time. Are you serious?
And hold on, before she restates it, I want everybody in the room to know that it's only a matter of time before you're saying the same thing, all right? It's only a matter of time, all right? All right, Zakia, hit him with it again.
No, because when I became a millionaire, I made it very intentional to be friends with other millionaires, other black women millionaires, because nobody talks about what it's like to be the first millionaire in your family. Nobody talks about what it's like to be a millionaire, period, when you come from poverty. Because there is, I'm gonna start crying.
It's okay, but this is a good story.
It's okay.
Though.
You're
This
in
is
safe
real.
space.
Like, this
You
is
are.
Okay.
There is things that we don't know.
That's right.
Things that we are not taught.
That's right.
In our communities,
That's right.
in our households. I can't talk to my mom about being a millionaire. She was never a millionaire. So there's nobody in my circle that I can talk to about what it's like to manage your money, you know, and then that constant fear of never wanting to be broke again, because there's a trauma that comes with growing up poor.
Yes, there is.
Right? Again, me being in that situation of losing everything even when I had money before. You know, I haven't been broke since I was 24, but I didn't manage it properly. So now it's that extra trauma of, you got millions of dollars, girl, what you about to do with it? You can't lose it. So it's the constant going to sleep at night thinking about, okay, what's my stock portfolio looking like? Do I have an estate for my kids? Do I have life insurance? Because I never want to be that trauma of being broke. Nobody talks about that. And so I was very intentional about being around other black women who were first-time millionaires, who could share their experiences with me. So now when I go and speak at anything, I'm like, okay, you want to be a millionaire, but do you know what that entails?
Come on.
Do you know that is very lonely?
Yeah.
You know, especially when, again, you come from a space, if you come from the hood, if you haven't grown up with a silver spoon, and then if you're the only person in your friend group who is a millionaire, and then having to navigate that.
You know,
And that survivor's remorse kind of like.
Yeah, I want to, first of all, I said it's okay to cry. Please don't. I'm an empath, and I will
mess up my makeup, and then I'm gonna start
You all
blowing my
have a
nose.
whole
That's
panel
gonna
of tears, right?
be a
So
thing.
please don't. But Ty, I want to come to you a little bit to talk about, because you mentioned something. You said you just don't know what you don't know, right? And that's fair. And I want you to know that that's fair, that you don't know what you don't know, but you do have a responsibility to learn,
That's right.
right? And so I want, Ty, would you talk a little bit about the types of services or opportunities there are for black entrepreneurs to learn what they don't know, right? So that they do have a higher degree of capital readiness. And hear my words, higher. You have a high degree of capital readiness already, right? But a higher degree of capital readiness.
No, 100%. I do want to remark on one thing you said. You talk about having diversified assets. I think that's so important too, that people don't realize once you get in there. It's not a one-trick pony. You have
Absolutely.
to diversify your assets.
Absolutely.
But as far as like resources for small businesses, and I'm going to talk from the lens from the state again, if you look at your African American Chamber of Commerce, your Latino or Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, they are there to provide resources for you. That is their job, right? So at the state, we have a business bonding readiness program, which means if you're a business and you want to get bonded so you can get larger contracts, we work with them. But we partnered with the African American Chamber and the Hispanic Chamber to make sure that we're getting people in the door, right? So I would check in with them first. The second thing, and I mentioned it earlier, is accelerator programs. If you're looking at how to scale your business, and this is not the kind when it's just like, I've been here, I'm ready. This is when you're scaling your business up right now. You should look for accelerators. One of the best ones that focuses on diverse communities is Morgan Stanley. They have a diverse cultural accelerator program that NJEDA is part of, but it focuses on black and brown businesses, how to make sure you got your budget right, how to make sure you have your business plan right, how to make sure whatever numbers you're putting out there are sound, make sense, and are gonna get you money in the door. But it's not just getting to those places, it's making sure those places will get you to money. Like that's the end of the day. Like you can go through all these training programs, and we talked about that, but what people wanna see at the end of the day is resources. And so what I will say here, if I was standing there, I would go through your economic development authorities. Every state has one. Pennsylvania has one. We're in New Jersey, but New Jersey is the best one, sorry. But because you have them, part of their responsibility as public agencies is to do work for you. There are a ton of training and technical assistance programs that exist that are out there that you guys should be looking at and looking at critically, and not just that, demanding more. One of the reasons we had to change at EDA is because people demanded more. So from your state agencies, demand more. And I have to shout out two things. When we talked about networking earlier, there's two people in here, Tara Dowdell and then also 360 Media. These were two black and brown women-owned companies that came on to EDA because we had We had the resources, but we didn't have the network. And so these young women, these young ladies, and I don't know if they're in here still, but these were the women that literally took us from 10,000 businesses that we were helping to 77,000 businesses. And we were intentional about hiring Black and brown businesses. And I say that because it makes sense, because again, we're supporting businesses, we're reaching out to them, but they increased our network and our value so much more within the communities.
So listen, these are more do's, right? Do diversify your assets. Do utilize your economic development authorities and agencies. Do, right, have a really serious commitment to learning what you don't know.
Right.
So listen, we got only like 5 minutes left. And so I'm gonna come to each of you, and this whole session is about getting to the money and letting everybody else be mad, right? And so I want you to just give, and if you had 2 minutes of advice, your elevator pitch, you're meeting these entrepreneurs on the elevator and you're gonna encourage them to go out and get the bag, what are you gonna say to them, Zakia?
Well, first of all, when you believe in something, there's this thing called grit that you have to keep on going, because there are going to be obstacles faced in your way. If I would have stopped FBF in year 2 when I wasn't making money and I had a negative $1.73 in my account when I was still a business owner, you know, I wouldn't be where I am today. Also, your network, again, is super, super important. Literally every stage that I have stood on is because somebody mentioned my name in a room that I wasn't in. And so, I tell you, I can go connect the dots from back to 10 years ago. So your network is super important. Also, just learn about money, learn about investments, learn about managing your money, because if you are somebody who can't manage $1,000, you can't manage $2 million.
That's right.
You can't manage $100 million. So you have to learn these things, and some of us have to go through things like I did to get to the point where you can learn to manage that money. But it's so important that you get and manage that money and invest the money that you have once you start to get it. Don't start spending it on things and just blowing the money. Invest it, save it. Find high yield savings accounts. One is Marcus. They give 7% back, which is high, super high. Diversifying your investments, real estate, stocks, jewelry. You know, people forget about that, but jewelry can be an investment as well. You know, if you bought a Rolex last year, it's double the money right now. So, you know, you have to be very mindful about what you do with your money and just be a proponent of your business. You know, tell everybody about it. Don't be scared to open your mouth, no matter what people say about you, no matter where you are. Keep plugging, because the right person is going to hear and the right person is going to put you somewhere.
Hey, keep plugging. Keep plugging. Awesome. Ty.
I mean, so I would just say this. Don't be afraid to birth your business. I think that's so important, but do be prepared. And I think that preparation is so incredibly important. So I'm gonna give a list of resources that I think are important, right? We talked about your economic development authorities, which are incredibly important, but also look into your community banks, your CDFIs, so community, what is it, CDFI? What am I blanking on?
Community Development Financial Institution.
So CDFI, your minority deposit institutions. These are institutions that always have a lower interest rate, and they target specifically with MDIs and CDFIs, Black and brown businesses. So these are things that you're gonna go home and research. Also make sure that you're looking into your states for grants. The money that I mentioned earlier, that $700 million, that was in grants. Right now, because of COVID and all the recovery that's happening.
One thing, explain that you don't pay a grant back.
Yeah.
You don't pay, and that's
Like,
real
say
talk,
that.
though. So all these
Yeah.
things that are coming out from your states, and that's why I say make sure you're following your local economic development authorities. The grants are free. And if you're looking at loans, make sure you're looking at forgivable loans. That means at the beginning you're paying back towards it, but at the end it's forgivable. That's what happened with PPP, which was a disaster at first, but they cleaned it up. But start looking into these resources. Do your due diligence. Do the work, because when I say they literally passed $1 billion budget for recovery, and there is room and access in there for us. And so you have to make sure that you're researching this information. And so those acronyms I gave you, be intentional about researching them. And when I said things like SSBCI, for us at EDA, that money we're gonna reinvest right back into businesses. And there is a segment that we're portioning off specifically for Black and brown businesses. So do your research, be intentional about it, because right now, There is so much money and so many resources out there, and every state is getting direct funding. And so you can go for loans, but right now, go for grants.
Yes.
Go for the grants.
Get the free money.
Right? Sorry.
Get the free
And
and
utilize the accelerators and incubators that
Absolutely.
provide a grant at the end of you doing the work, right? Like, that's amazing. We want to, Zakia, you want to jump in? But before you jump in, I want to invite you all to start queuing up here at the microphone. If you have questions, we're going to take questions from the audience. Please only give us your name and your synthesized, sweet, cute question so that we can try and get through everyone who might be waiting. Zakia, before we take Q&A.
I'm doing a Better Banking series in the summertime with my capital group, 1787 Capital. But also look to your banks and know what you are supposed to be getting as a customer from your bank. You know, we talked backstage and I was saying, you know, when I first probably opened up my bank account, I had like $500. My bank didn't want to grow with me.
That's right.
You know, and now I have millions of dollars in the bank. They weren't giving me what I needed. But you don't know what you're supposed to be getting unless you ask. When you open up these accounts at your banks and they give you those pamphlets telling you what you're supposed to be getting, free checks, we're gonna give you some free checks. No, how are you gonna help me grow my business? You know, what is your plan to help me buy a home if I need to in the future? You need to be putting your money with people who are gonna help you elevate your life. Whether it is, again, we're all entrepreneurs here, but you might know people that just want to buy a home or be a real estate investor. Like, how is your bank going to help you grow in whatever financial area you need? And you need to be knowledgeable of that and asking them those questions.
That's 100%.
Do hold your financial service providers accountable to your needs and interests, not theirs. Hey, all right. Let's do Q&A. Hi, family. How are you?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Hi, my name is Kenia O'Neill. I'm a Scrum Master for Immune and Moving. My question is, I really like how you were talking about the fact that you have a disability because I have sickle cell disease. And I think we both have disabilities that aren't well known or talked about, especially in the Black community.
Yes.
So as someone that has a disability, how would you inspire someone that does have a disability? Because, you know, doctors can be very negative Nancy's, and they really try to speak death over people's lives. So how would you encourage someone that is dealing with their disability and trying to move past that and also be an entrepreneur at the same time?
Thank you for your question, honey. Many people have what is known as an invisible disease. So if I didn't tell you, you would think I was fine. My brain doesn't work right? So that's why I have my phone up here. I got notes. It's a whole thing, right? So I would say you have to find something that you are fighting for.
That's right.
You know, I am permanently disabled. It's on the books, right? I could collect a disability check if I wanted to and just chill for the rest of my life and not have to do anything. But I wanted to change other people's lives. I wanted to help people be proactive in their health. Now, me being overweight had nothing to do with my brain disorder, but for many people, they don't start taking care of themselves until they get diabetes, until they get the diagnosis, they're more reactive than proactive. And so my advice would just be, you have to find something that you want to go for and be an overcomer, because we all have things that are going on in your life. And I can sit here with every excuse. I don't like people to give me excuses because I got one better, right? It's always, oh, you did it? Me too. Me too. My brain don't work. So what you got? You get what I'm saying? It's like, I'm not coming for your excuses. I don't want to hear it. And so if you want a better life for yourself, you have to fight for that. And you have to look at your disability not as a hindrance, but something that you can use to accomplish your goals in spite of. And your story will help somebody else.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Have a nice day.
You too.
Thank you so much. Welcome, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good. My name is Craig Howard, owner, CEO of Deliver Delicious Food Service. My question is, how do you navigate securing funds for a company that, let's say, grossed $586,000 their first year? How do you navigate trying to get grants and loans to grow the business, where a lot of banks, they typically try to use your personal your personal finances as a barometer
Right.
of what you're worth. And the type of capital that you would need would be in excess of $500,000 to $1 million.
So that $586,000 is a very
Just
non-specific number.
a
No.
random number.
Right.
It's a very non-specific
Random number in our
right?
first year,
Ty,
something
would
like
you
that.
would you kind of help us with that?
So I'm gonna say two things, right? So you're still under that threshold of small business, how they look at it from the
Correct.
SBA definition, which is a good thing.
Okay.
Because right now, throughout multiple states, they're looking at SBA-defined businesses to give more resources and access to.
Okay.
The good thing is that you've got proof points in how your business was able to scale. What you need now is to either look at angel investors, which I think is a very important thing, and folks that are focused on the areas that you are, right?
Okay.
So if you're in this food security area, there are resources that are targeted specifically for those type of initiatives. And I actually am going to say this just because I know Rockefeller is doing a bunch for small black and brown businesses to help them scale, because you're not at that level where you're a startup anymore.
Correct.
You've been in the game. You've
Correct.
been doing this work. You're looking to scale up. So I want to actually flip the table a little bit, moderator, and talk about like the things that are also happening
man.
at Rockefeller. And then also, are you in Philadelphia? Are you in Pennsylvania?
We are based in Philadelphia. In Pennsylvania,
Okay.
we operate in 12 counties in Pennsylvania, from here all the way up to Scranton, as far over as Pittsburgh.
Come to Jersey.
We actually, as a matter of fact, I'm from Jersey. I'm from Washington Township, New Jersey.
Okay.
We're going to expand to Jersey and Delaware within a year or two.
Okay.
But for me, it's about we have an opportunity to get into a larger building. But again, there's capital that needs to happen. I have 20 employees. I need to scale up even larger than that.
Do
So
they
for that to
have
happen, I
any
need capital.
site acquisition funds that are available in Pennsylvania or through Philadelphia? Like so you can actually, they'll provide you with funds to purchase a building.
Okay.
I'm asking.
No, I have not. I've not done it. All this was, we started with $10,000 and kind of scaled it from there. And this is where we're at, and we're still trying to figure it out because there's not many people in our lane. So what we do is we typically we deal with the insurance companies. So like the home health aides, we're the food provider for the said
That's
companies.
sustainable and there's longevity
Exactly,
in that.
exactly. So, but the problem is going into banks, the first thing they want to see is my personal assets,
Be
which
focused on your
doesn't.
business, and that's the thing that we talked about backstage.
Yeah.
And this is how we have to pivot, and that's why you're not putting all these things in your name because they'll look for collateral and try to take your house.
Right.
It has to go through, and it should be going through the business. So is the business registered? How are you?
We're escort.
And are you building business credit?
Well, I took out a QuickBooks loan one time. I believe you said something similar with the $10,000 or whatever. I took a $3,000 loan out, immediately paid it right back to try to build some business equity. My DUNS number is at a sustainable rate. It's a pretty good rate. I haven't. I've only worked with like TD Bank and some of the larger banks
Get
to
rid
try
of
to go
them.
in there. Gotcha.
You
Okay.
gotta-
Yep.
yeah.
Okay.
PD
Yep.
is horrible.
Okay.
Wait.
Oh, sorry. Oh, man, I forgot.
TD might want to pay for
Sorry,
something,
you're
so we're not gonna say that.
responsible.
No.
All right, nobody's-
But what I
bad.
think you're hearing is this intentionality. No, I want to hear it because what I loved is that you started with the metric, right?
Yeah.
You started with the number.
Correct.
So the thing that I would encourage as a do for all of us in the room is be able to measure what
Yeah.
you're doing,
Absolutely.
right? Be able to have the numbers ready, right?
Right.
Now, that may not make a difference when walking into a traditional bank, but I think you heard the advice of the panel today, right? It said you need to diversify, your approach to raising capital.
Okay.
And so your strategic fundraising plan has to include connecting with the EDA. It has to include connecting with community development financial
That's right.
institutions.
Okay, got
It
it.
has to include connecting with minority depository
That's right.
institutions, right? Because foundations like the one where I work, we do loan buybacks. We work with CDFIs and they're like, we literally buy your loan from them
Yep.
Oh, wow,
and say,
okay.
don't hold them accountable for that, right?
Gotcha.
We need them to grow and scale their business. And those types of programs don't necessarily exist in the traditional larger financial institutions,
Okay.
right? And so in the interest of time, because we have a line here, I think that what I would stress is, again, is you're doing the right thing, right? Because you started with a metric. I think what you really need to consider is diversifying your approach to fundraising and thinking beyond traditional banks, because investing for racial equity, quite frankly, requires investing in alternative structures and organizations and entities to get the money out to folk who look like us and who work in our communities. And PPP and IDLE proved it,
Come on
right?
now.
Because
Come on
there were
now.
people who had relationships with their banks, and Zakia talked to you about going from $500 in the bank to millions in the bank,
Right.
and still having to advocate for herself
Yeah.
to get the services that she needed to grow and scale her business. So I think if you take the conversation in context and in totality, that there's a lot of good advice on what to do to grow and scale your business. And listen, again, bump into folk in the hallway, right?
I
And
was
be
just-
like,
I was just gonna say,
I'm
give
trying
me
to
your
grow
card
this.
before you leave,
Yes.
because two things. I'll connect you with the EDA that's for Pennsylvania, and also with whatever CDFIs or MDIs or NPA area.
Okay.
Because that's what we want to make sure that you're doing. And if I can identify any other grants from the private sector side, I'll make sure. But like, I love what you're doing.
Thank you, I
That is
appreciate
huge,
it.
and it's sustainable. Like, that's a
It is
sustainable
very
model
much
that
so.
you have.
But for me, it's more about feeding our people
on.
more than anything. The money is a great byproduct, but it's more about feeding my people.
Come
And live in
on.
food deserts. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And
listen,
my wife loves your clothes, by the way.
Yes,
She wears them
I-
all the
right
time.
here. Right here.
Let's let family behind you come to the mic.
Sorry.
Sure.
So we can get the next question. This is awesome. Y'all are so great.
Hi, good morning. My name is Tamika Young. I am the founder of the National Association for Kidpreneurs.
Good morning.
So
Tamika.
I'm sorry, get that a round of applause. I love that already.
y'all hold that applause for this next comment.
Okay, wait.
I started my organization like 3 years ago, and it has really grown a lot. And it's a nonprofit. I think I said that, but so. My question is kind of twofold, because I started it because I want to help and give a platform to, the kids who already have a business, and then the teaching kind of just came after that, because so many parents kind of saw what I was doing and wanted their kids to join. And so then I started National Kidpreneur Day, because I was like, oh, Small Business Saturday, so now we need to have our own day. So first Saturday in November. And that's grown to now being international. I have this year it'll be international. Some partners from like Legos. I appreciate the applause, but let me tell you, like it's been a little bit of a struggle, because it's just me. And so part of my question. Yes. Okay. My question is, I just want to give a little, my question is, one, the capital. Yep. So I want to be able to provide opportunities. So I mentioned National Kidpreneur Day for youth like all over the country to be able to come to this event, one, but also in the future, a lot of the kids will start a business and kind of fall off because of the parents, right? So because of the organizations like yourself, you go through the parents. And that's like a hindrance for the kids, because they don't have parents that either know what to do or they just don't know how to get there.
Can I ask you a question real quick?
Sure.
So two things. One, are you doing any work with the school districts?
Yes.
So you're certified. So you're on their vendor list. They work with you. They're giving you an actual contract with the school district.
Not all of
Okay,
them.
so here's the
Step
thing,
one.
right?
5 minutes.
I'm sorry, she's telling me about 5 minutes. So one, go through your state Department of Education. Look to see how you can institute your program within the DOE, within your state. And then if you look at the school boards have billions of dollars as well. Like I know for our largest one in New Jersey, it's $1 billion school budget. So look at your local and also your state Department of Education, your local school boards, to make sure that you're also able to scale money that way. It's a different way to do it, but again, it's guaranteed reoccurring income, and they can actually institute within the school districts and make it mandatory. That's an important thing what you're doing. And then link up with your local SBA, right? So the SBAs are small business development centers. Make sure that they know you're doing stuff like this. And if you've already created a national day, you can also work with the National Small Business Authority. So you have a pathway to get there. It's a matter of making those connections, doing the work. But again, when I tell you connecting with those local school boards, that's reoccurring money, but it'll be instituted within the districts.
Okay, thank you. And then
Awesome.
my other
Thank you so
question
much.
for Zakia, I'm sorry. I just wanted to ask if how did you said you went from not knowing how to manage your money to learning how to manage it. What exactly did you do?
Well, for me, I read books, and here's the thing. I kind of always knew how to manage my money, but I have a spending problem. I'm gonna just be honest here. You know what I'm saying? I like to buy things, whether it's $10, whatever. I like to buy things.
So if you're selling things, no.
Listen, I'm gonna buy it. I just bought cup holders I bought coasters for my car cup holders.
Oh,
I'll
God.
buy anything. You know what I'm saying? So I had to look at my budget, look at my spending, look at how much money was coming in, keep a journal of how much you spend every day. Get a little notebook, literally write down everything you buy.
Yeah.
And then you can start to see, okay, well, I'm spending $400 eating out. I'm spending $300, $700 on shopping. And then if that's not matching your budget and how much money you have coming in each month, you need to make some adjustments. The rule is if you can't buy it twice, don't buy it at all.
Can I do a plug on this too, just on budget? Tiffany Alashay, AKA the Budgetnista.
The Budgetista.
Yes.
So she's Jersey based, so I gotta shout out Jersey people. But when I say she also went from having credit scores that were in the 500s to now having a multi-million-dollar business.
And she's a teacher.
But it was a teacher, but gave the game plan. And now her financial literacy program is in our schools, but for adults, I use her stuff. Like, her financial literacy is real. And if you're gonna grow your business, financial literacy is one of the most important things. By the way, your hair, we were talking about it earlier. Let me tell you how I was doing one of these when I saw your hair.
Listen, this is going to be our last question. This is going to be our last question. I want to, Tamika said something though. You said it's been a struggle. And I think everyone in the room took a deep breath when you said that. Because it's been a struggle for a lot of folk in this room. But without struggle, there's no progress. So I want you to be faint, right? Because it's a struggle. I want you to never doubt that the clouds will break, but know that you're gonna wake up the next day and go harder, okay? And so I wanna acknowledge that it is a struggle, but you can do this, okay?
Hi, I'm David Alexander Jenkins. I'm the founder of Merry Christmas from Anonymous and executive producer for the Sit With It show. And I heard you say earlier something which was key to everyone in this room, which is being social. And when you became a millionaire, when you got that money, finding other people who coddled you and showed you how to grow and be you with that new you. So if you could for the room, and if you all could for the room, tell us, where are these social networks? Where are these pockets? Where are these special nuggets? Where are these special Facebook groups where you can find people like you?
Thank you.
Well, listen, social media, every woman that I have connected with that is a millionaire, multimillionaire, I have met on Instagram. A lot of people use these social networks as a way to be ghost followers and don't say anything, feel like they don't have a voice. But you can literally, again, this is about being intentional, right? Being intentional. I'll tell you a story about one time I went to the White House. I'm gonna keep it real quick. I went to the White House for Barack Obama's, the president, it was their last party at the White House, right? And so I saw somebody sitting across the room and she was fly. I was like, oh, she is fly. Like, I'm a girl, you know what I mean? You know when you see another fly woman, you be like, oh, she fly? I was like, she is so fly. I had to meet her. I didn't meet her that night though. But you know what I did? I went to Instagram and I found her. She was Commons publicist at the time, so I went to Commons page. I'm like a detective. I went to Commons page, and I was like, okay, let me scroll through, found a picture that she was in, she was tagged, bam, got you. You know what I'm saying?
It's not stalking if it's to build your business, all right? Listen, we have to wrap. We're out of time. You all have been, this family reunion that we've had in this room, the do's and don'ts, has been amazing. And the last thing I'll leave you with is that when you learn, teach. When you get, give.
Come on now.
Okay? That's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you.